What's going on? What is going on? Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, LinkedIn. Welcome back to another episode of the Late Night Show with Dr. Kojo. And I am your host, Dr. Kojo, and we are checking in live from sunny Los Angeles, California. It's been fairly sunny today. And we have a very, very, very interesting topic. People have been asking about this. I've been seeing people, request me to talk about this, under the videos and the posts and the reels. So we're going to be talking about intrusive thoughts today. But before we get into it, I need to know, or I'd like to know, where you all are checking in from tonight. Like I said, I am checking in live from sunny Los Angeles, California. Let me see where everybody's checking in from. Hey, Augusta Hatcher, what's going on? I miss you. How you doing? Beth is the OG, a staple. Buffalo, New York in the house. Happy to see you. Charmaine, I appreciate you. Thank you, Ms. Bailey. Virginia Beach in the house. 757. Love from Toronto. T-Dot, what's going on? Let me see where people are. Ayla, what's up? Somebody's excited. Yeah, I get to do this. This is super dope. I hate intrusive. Deborah, I'm not a fan of them either. So we're gonna get to the bottom of it. We're gonna get to the bottom of these intrusive thoughts. Bowling Green, Kentucky, Manitoba. Wow, a lot of people in Canada. Okay, shout out to my people in Canada. Portland, Oregon, Tyler, Texas, Vonore, Tennessee. Never heard of Vonore. Philadelphia in the house, Connecticut. Paul is checking in from Baltimore. Paul, what's going on? Thank you for checking in from LinkedIn. I appreciate the LinkedIn love. Kansas City, Missouri in the house. Okay. Oklahoma, Maine, Delilah. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Cleveland, Ohio, Rhode Island, Tucson, Arizona. Okay, tonight, you all, we're going to talk about embarrassing intrusive thoughts. And this is a good topic to talk about because I think a lot of people don't realize that, first of all, we all have thoughts that we don't think represent who we are as individuals, and sometimes these thoughts might not be intrusive, right? It might just be like a fleeting thought, or it might be something that you used to think about yourself, right? But we're going to be talking about the intrusive thoughts, right? These are the unwanted thoughts that come out of nowhere, and sometimes it's hard to detach yourself from the idea and the notion that I am not this thing, right? And depending on what type of intrusive thought you're having, it can cause a lot of distress to you. It can really frustrate your life. So we're going to get into it, So I want to know, before I get into it and I start to talk, I want to know, when you all hear embarrassing intrusive thoughts, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Throwing the headphones away. All right, let's get into it. When we talk about embarrassing intrusive thoughts, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Claire says, intrusive thoughts do not mean you are a bad person. I agree. So Claire, I think it's only appropriate that we give you the first love of the show. Claire, I love it. I love it. Laisha says self-sabotage. Okay. Holly, I'm going to bring this comment here and I'm going to talk about this. And I hope, these platforms give me the chance to talk about this because it's, it should be for education, right? So sometimes this could be an intrusive thoughts, right? An intrusive thought, like thinking about doing this, but you have no intention of doing this. Sometimes you have the thought and you're like, oh, what would happen if it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you want to do it, right? So when you educate people, let them know that this does not mean that you want, you're not suicidal. You just had the thought, right? And once you know that you are not this thought, then you can breathe easy. You can be like, like take a deep breath. That diaphragmatic breathing, right? That's what we want you to do. We want you to be relaxed, right? So we don't want you to believe these thoughts, right? Sarah says when it comes to intrusive thoughts, her first thought is not again. Okay. Cecilia says my first thought is why am I thinking this in the first place? Okay. Amanda says my first thought is I'm not good enough. And these are things that I've heard before. Thank you all for sharing. I appreciate that. Nessa says here we go again. I usually think that they are valid. I have to talk myself out of them. Okay. All right. Putting myself down after rejection. See, a lot of these are like negative thoughts, things that kind of like drown out the positive things that we think about ourselves. Let me see. Uh, what the F are you thinking? What's wrong with me? Right. So Lisa and Selena, I think for a lot of people, when you think of intrusive thoughts, this is the first thing that comes to the mind, right? Depending on the thought, you're like, oh my goodness, like I feel like I'm the only person in the world that's having this thought. I must be weird because nobody else in the whole world is having this thought. So I'm super weird. And sometimes you think to yourself, I need some help ASAP, or I people don't need to know that I'm having this type of thought, or these thoughts, right? So you have to let people know that you're not your thoughts. I think that's very, very important. Let me see. Why can't I get anything right? I'm not good enough. Okay, you see how a lot of these things are negative? Stealing a car where the window was open. Okay, that's an intrusive thought. My first thought is I deserve to fail. Okay. My intrusive thoughts just swallowed. Okay, okay. All right, so I want you all to understand that one thing that I would tell my patients right back in the day is that you have to allow yourself. Sometimes the brain, right, has like, or sometimes think of your brain in this way if it makes it any easier for you, right? Your brain might be its own entity, right? And then you, as a person, right, we don't have as much control over our brains as we think that we'd like to have sometimes, right? So you may have thoughts that come in your head, right? And it's up to us, right? We got to do the inner work, and we have to know how to filter out, some of these negative thoughts and challenge them, and we have to override that with the positive thoughts, right? We have to say, I'm worthy, I'm loved, I'm capable, I'm good, I'm strong, I'm fast, I'm helpful, I'm respectful. These types of positive thoughts are going to drown out the negative ones. So it's very important to understand that. And Cunningham, I know Clueless is real. I thought something was wrong with me when I thought off the wall thoughts. I truly thank you for this live video. Yeah, Miss Cunningham, we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it tonight. Because like this is something that it's funny because I've never actually had a live where I talked about intrusive thoughts. When people hear intrusive thoughts, I think we automatically jump to OCD, right? You think about OCD and the intrusive thoughts that can come with it, and how that can lead to more and more anxiety. But you can have intrusive thoughts outside the context of having like a diagnosis of OCD, right? So anybody could relate to the concept of an intrusive thought, right? So I found a nice website, Mental Health America. I used to be partnered with them when I had a clothing company back in Augusta, Georgia. For those of y'all who are OG followers, but Mental Health America has a really nice page here. Anxiety information and support, types of intrusive thoughts. And I like this page right here as a resource because it's very simple to understand. I like something that's simple and straightforward. And I can copy and paste this, and I'll copy and paste it, and I'll drop it here for you all, for my boys and girls who like to get the link to things. So let me drop this here for y'all, and then we're gonna go ahead and get into it, right? We're gonna get into it. So types of intrusive thoughts, right? The first one on this page right here is thinking about hurting yourself or someone else, right? This before we get into this, right, I just want to say, if you're having any of these thoughts, right, I would recommend, I would strongly hope that you would find emergent help, any professional close to you, urgent care, ER, and to know that if you're having these thoughts, you're not alone. And a lot of people have these thoughts and they recover and they live, their best lives afterwards, right? But you can have an intrusive thought that could be, violent, thinking of maybe hurting yourself or hurting someone else, right? And this might not be like actual suicidal ideation, like, oh, I want to do something to myself, but it may be a fleeting thought that crosses your mind. And then after that, you might have some shame on the back end, and you'll be telling yourself, I didn't think that I was this type of person. And then sometimes you get stuck with the paralysis that comes afterwards, right? You're thinking, okay, I thought this, so I must be this, so I must not be good enough, right? And then you get stuck, and it's kind of like quicksand, which I pull you out of it, I think it's important that we talk about this. Of course, you all know the National Suicide prevention hotline, 1-800-273-TALK. Or there's a crisis text line, Mental Health America. You can text MHA to 741-741 and talk to a trained counselor. And I actually think that Mental Health America has warm lines, I want to say, which is where you can just call and talk to somebody. Maybe you just need to talk to somebody. So I want to say that's Mental Health America. You all who are, keeping up with Mental Health America, please fact check me in the comments. All right. And now we're going to move on to the next one here on this list, right? Intrusive sexual thoughts, right? And I think this is where a lot of people get a lot of shame from, right? So I'm going to go ahead and read it for those of y'all who did not click the link. So come from Mental Health America, right? Most people, regardless of gender, think about sex quite a bit, right? It's completely natural. And I'm happy that they wrote that it's completely natural because, I think when you're, a teenager, right? 17, 18, 19, around those ages, I think we all can kind of expect somebody that age to think about sex all the time, right? But you can think about sex multiple times throughout the day, and it doesn't mean you're a perv, or it doesn't mean that you want sex. Maybe the thought just crossed your mind for whatever reason, right? So it's completely natural to have these thoughts, right? But if you're ashamed of these thoughts, or you think having them makes you a bad person, you can get fixated on them. Remember that thoughts are just thoughts, even if the thoughts are shocking or frequent. They don't define who you are as a person, right? And then the second paragraph here says, it's also common for people to have intrusive thoughts about their sexual or gender identity. Working out your identity can be a long and difficult process. It can be stressful, and it makes sense that you be thinking about it a lot. But it's also common for people with OCD, we talked about OCD a little bit, to obsess over thoughts that don't seem to line up with their identity. For example, you might identify as a lesbian, but have intrusive thoughts about sex with a man, right? So that's just one example right there. And I like the fact that we talked about intrusive sexual thoughts because that's where I see a lot of shame. I see a lot of shame. So I want to sit there and pause for a second and talk about the intrusive sexual thoughts, right? And after you have this thought, I want to talk about the emotion on the back end, right? The shame that comes with it, and I've seen this like with past patients, like in all types of flavors, where maybe you were with somebody, right? And you had an intrusive sexual thought about somebody else, right? Or an ex or something. Or maybe you come from a strong like religious background and you're not supposed to even be talking about, sex with, your family, or, maybe that's just how you're raised. But for some reason, you can't stop having these thoughts, right? And if you feel like you're the only one that's having it, or if you feel like having the thoughts is attached to you potentially not going to heaven, I've heard this before, that can be very, difficult, right? You're going to be in a lot of distress. Somebody said intrusive sexual thoughts about coworkers. Yes, that could be a thing, right? And this doesn't mean that you want to go to the break room, and do the make you thicky with your coworkers. Maybe you just thought about something and then you're like, all right, I don't care. I'm living my life. I don't care. So it's good to not judge yourself for this. And Malia says this live came at the right time. Malia, this live did come at the right time. I do appreciate your attention, Ms. Summers. And Javi says thoughts that can contradict what you believe. Yeah, so you can have these thoughts. So I'm not sure if you're talking about the OCD part, but a lot of times when you have the anxiety over this thought, let's just take away OCD for a second, right? If you have anxiety over this thought, a lot of times it's because you don't believe this thing about yourself, right? So if you're having a sexual thought about your coworker, you might not even find them attractive, right? You might not even like your coworker. They might be the annoying person that comes every morning with a coffee and makes small talk with you, right? You might not even like them, but for some reason you had this thought and it brings you distress, right? So understanding that this is not what, and this is different from you wanting to do something with your coworker or having a sexual intention with somebody. Now, if you want to do that, then it's not an intrusive thought, right? It's not unwanted. This is about when you don't even feel this way and the thought crosses your head, and then the shame on the back end makes you feel like you're not good enough, or it makes you feel like you're a weird person, And look, there's no normal, I'm not sure what normal means. So I like to throw that out there because people think to themselves, "Oh, I'm weird. I'm this. I'm that." There's billions of people on the planet, So a lot of times, if I'm stressed out about a certain thing, or if I'm having negative thoughts, I'll tell myself, I mean, I'm not the first one to have it. I won't be the last one to have it. I can feel bad about it, but I'm going to allow myself to remember that I am not my thoughts, right? Michaela, I like what Michaela said. These thoughts do not define you. Someone says Mickey Ficky. Mickey Ficky. Stephanie, I appreciate you. Cindy says, Cindy, I know you can't stay, but I appreciate you. And Michaela, I'm happy that these lives are very, very helpful. And let me read some more comments before I move on. Katie says, I have intrusive thoughts of an ex of mine, even though I'm in a committed relationship, hate it. So this right here, I've actually heard this from multiple patients, right? Or even friends, and so I don't want to say there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with the fact that you have felt this way, right? Obviously, you don't want to be having these thoughts, right? You're going to be embarrassed by it. Your current partner, like you don't want to be in this position. So once you understand, I think in this situation, it's important to understand that I might have these thoughts, but I don't want to be with that person, And if you can make that distinction, I think you can relieve yourself of some of the anxiety, because then sometimes you might get into an argument with your boyfriend, and then you start to think, oh, is it because I'm having these thoughts? And sometimes, it just spirals out of control. So if you can at least tell yourself, all right, I had this thought, but this isn't what I wanted, and this thought does not represent who I am. If you can connect the dots like that, I think that right there could be very helpful, right? And this is not a substitute for like professional therapy or anything like that. But if you can get that, that it could be just as helpful, maybe as professional help, right? You should still go get professional help. Anybody who wants professional help, right? But I'm saying if you can think about that, it can be helpful. And Catherine says, anyone Polly needs to talk to DM me. Catherine, sure, maybe if there's a poly community out there, you can reach out to them. But I think you can be in a polygamous relationship and still maybe have an intrusive, unwanted sexual thought, right? So I don't think this is just for monogamous couples, Beth said that. Beth, I can't even speak now. Beth says, I have whole affairs in my head. Okay, well, if those are not thoughts that you want, they do not represent you. And Catherine says, I'm poly new. Oh, okay. So, Catherine, we've spoken about this before, and we've had people who are in these types of relationships come on the live. And I think somebody else emailed me about it. So, I don't mind bringing on somebody else to talk about it, but I'll let it come from the horse's mouth. I'll make sure that it comes from, the expert or somebody who's living that lifestyle, right? Ali says, wild intrusive thought. My best friend's abusive ex. Okay. Wow. This is, and look, for everybody who's sharing, respect. I have a lot of respect for people who are sharing. And maybe it's cathartic, right? Maybe it helps to get off your chest. But this does not mean that you want to go behind your best friend's back, right? And I don't even know who you are, but I'm just saying this does not automatically mean that. So it's important to keep that in mind. Intrusive thoughts, getting divorced, I don't want to. Bobby, once again, if you can understand that your thoughts are not who you are, that can relieve a lot of anxiety, right? So especially with like divorce, right? That's a difficult, divorce is not like a topic you bring up on a random Monday night, when you're watching a football game. Like, it's a pretty heavy topic. So having intrusive thoughts about that can be pretty stressful, It can be pretty stressful. And let me see. Oh, so I read that right there. Good to hear that you can discuss these random thoughts and realize you're not right. Jolene, I like that right there. Jolene puts me in the mind of the song, Jolene, but I like that comment. Stacy, I appreciate you. Stacy Smith, random love of the show to Stacy Smith. Stacy, I appreciate you. And I like what somebody said, Stephanie. this is a public thing. If no need to feel any pressure to share anything. This is all for educational purposes. Just keep this in mind, right? Um, all for educational purposes, right? And let me see. Jennifer, please talk about postpartum and intrusive thoughts, right? So once again, the postpartum period is very tricky because in this period, right, like I think the expectation is that you have a baby, you should be extremely happy. Everybody is, giving you baby shower gifts and registry, and your spouse or your partner, like everything is supposed to be like all happy, right? So if you're a little anxious or a little depressed, or maybe if you have postpartum psychosis, sometimes that can complicate things in the postpartum period, right? And on top of that, if you're having intrusive thoughts about maybe like neglecting your baby, or hurting your baby, or that can be extremely embarrassing, right? And even to tell somebody that, it can be hard to tell somebody that because you feel like they're going to take my child away. And that's why I'm always an advocate for professional help, right? With all my videos, right? Every video that I make, even the funny comedic sketches, all of the videos I make, they all have the objective of you circling back around to finding a professional, right? Like I want us to laugh, I want us to listen to the music, I want us to have a good time, but I want us to eventually go back and find professional help, right? Because telling a professional that you're having like intrusive thoughts, around motherhood, or something with your baby, that can allow you to get the help that you need, right? And it's hard to have that. It's hard to have these conversations with your friend, right, on a random Tuesday afternoon, because they might judge you for it, right? Or you might judge them if you hear them saying, things that we would all agree would be like, a little bit bizarre, right? So it's important to talk to a professional. And let me see, where did I thought I saw a good comment here. And Emily, I thought about throwing my baby out the window often during breastfeeding. I didn't realize I had. Okay, so once again, thank you for sharing. This doesn't make you a bad mother. I hope you were able to, talk this through with a professional. But these are, and this live, and even as I have this live, like I've never done it live on intrusive thoughts before. So it's quite interesting to see how the live would go, because I got the show topic a couple hours ago, and I thought to myself, I'm like, we're talking about intrusive thoughts. It sometimes just by nature of them being intrusive is kind of embarrassing, right? So I was like, this is gonna be a pretty interesting live, but I feel like it's still one that needs to be talked about, right? We're gonna have to talk about all the the difficult topics, right? And my goal is to make this show much more entertaining, so that we can have people come on and guest and maybe sketch it. Like I want to make this whole live format entertaining, and I have a plan to do that. But I still think we need to talk about intrusive thoughts. We still need to talk about grief. We still need to talk about suicide, and mental health awareness in all forms. So these are all things that nobody wants to talk about, but we talk about here because we do, right? All right. Let me see any more comments before I move on. Catherine, Catherine, are you having intrusive thoughts and anxiety about this live? No intrusive thoughts on my end. I'm having good anxiety about this live. Anytime I get on live, I have a good anxiety. It's kind of like I don't, because live is like, this is live. Like it's 317 people here. And I'm getting the live feedback from you all. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what somebody's going to comment. Of course, I've mentioned when I first started this show that, like any racist, sexist, homophobic, like any negative comments, anything political, like let's just keep that away, right? So hopefully the comment section is, no fighting back and forth, right? But I still know what I'm going to get, right, when I go live. So there's good anxiety for me. And it keeps me curious enough to keep doing this, because I'm like, I don't know what Catherine D is going to comment today, or what the next person is going to comment the next day. So that keeps me curious. Catherine, I appreciate that. And I like your glasses, right? And now let's talk about negative self-talk, right? These are intrusive thoughts that I feel like a lot of us can relate to, right? So not everybody may get the intrusive thoughts about wanting to hurt yourself, or Not everybody might get the intrusive sexual thoughts. But when it comes to the negative self-talk, I think a lot of us get that, right? And even me, like this is where I feel like I can really relate. Like having thoughts about, oh, maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe, and I've conquered this for the most part by challenging it with positive thoughts, things that I know I'm good at, continue to do things that I'm good at, right? So when negative thoughts come now, it's like I knock it out real fast, right? Knock it down, like, push it away, push it away. Because I've trained myself over and over, but it's like a daily thing to keep your self-esteem in check, and reading here from the paragraph, negative thoughts about yourself are a common symptom of depression. When you're feeling down, it's easy to get stuck on thoughts like I'm such a loser or I'll never amount to anything. The emotion behind these thoughts can be so strong that they feel like facts rather than intrusive thoughts. So just like I was saying, the emotion behind these thoughts is a powerful thing, right? And I think we had a live where I was talking about depression earlier, and I said sometimes with depression, I was trying to explain it to y'all. I said if you give a depressed person 9 great things, right? And then 1 negative thing. So you gave them 10 things, right? And you put 9 amazing things in front of them and 1 negative thing. Sometimes the likelihood is that with depression, they'll bypass all the 9 amazing things and they'll lock in on that 1 negative thought. And that's all that they can see. They're just like, oh, this is so bad. And they can't see the rest. Sometimes depression kind of blinds you like that, right? So with these negative thoughts, right? Especially if these thoughts are hitting you, right? And depression is hitting you at the same time, it's going to be pretty hard to believe that you're a rock star or that you're good at something or that you're capable, right? And this is when imposter syndrome, like these things, it's kind of like it's a group of bullies, right? Like you're in middle school and it's like these 3 kids who always pick on you and they always hang out in the same circle, right? You never see them alone. Like they're always like attached to the hip. It's all 3 of them. Like you never just get the big kid who's super strong. You get the big kid, then you get the fast kid, then you get the kid who has a smart mouth, and they all come and bully you, right? That's kind of how this is like, right? You have the negative self-talk and the depression, then the imposter syndrome. They sometimes seem to all kind of hit you at the same time to frustrate you. So it's important to challenge those thoughts with positivity, And let me, Sarah, imposter. That might be the show for tomorrow or so. Like we can have a whole show on imposter syndrome because you have to really believe that you can do something before it happens, right? And even watching the Kanye West documentary, at least, and I'm not going to talk about Kanye today. I have no comments about Kanye today. I have no comments about Kim Kardashian today. I have no comments about Pete Davidson. Nothing about that. But in the Kanye documentary, when he first was coming up and he was believing in himself, right? And he had a car accident, but he said, I'm going to persevere. I'm going to win a Grammy. He manifested a lot of things, right? And the confidence that his mother instilled in him, I think it took him a long way, right? And that helps to ward off things like imposter syndrome, and it helps you to be strong when those negative thoughts do come, you know? So, Jolene, these negative thoughts, it's not easy at all. Not easy at all, right? And I like what Catherine says. Don't be your own bully. Don't be your own bully. Because sometimes, you can make things harder for yourself, right? If you're not, challenging some of these negative thoughts that are coming, right? Um, uh, but it feels, it could be weird to, go from the negative to the positive, right? So I think that's why you have to really work on that. It doesn't just happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. Let me see. Negative thoughts. Kari says, ending negative self-talk took me 2 years of medicine therapy. Well, thank you for sharing, and for some people, they might go to like a motivational class or watch a video on YouTube and they're okay, right? No more negative thoughts. And for you, you have to take this route. But as long as we got the desired result, then I'm happy. I'm happy. Hatcher, yeah, you're right. Negative thoughts are hard, right? And for me, what I do is sometimes like you are gonna believe the negative thoughts, but like I'll latch onto a positive thought and I'll continue to believe that thing over and over and over again. And I'll do things that I'm good at. Right? And then people will leave, good reviews, or they'll kind of like speak life into you, but you kind of have to see it first. So I feel like it's ironic, because if you're like confident and you move with confidence and you walk with confidence, and people tend to like say things that make you more confident. But then if you're struggling with your confidence, your self-esteem, and you're struggling with negative thoughts, sometimes it makes you like a good candidate for somebody to come and bully you and like further depress you, right? So it's kind of like the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer, right? But from like a mental like standpoint. Yeah, and so sometimes you got to quit your job. I've walked away from situations where it was not helping my mental health. So I definitely I can relate to that. How to reframe? Yeah, Lindsay, it can be difficult. And look, this is not easy. So if you're able to do this, or even if you're thinking about it, you have to give yourself credit, right? Militia says cognitive reframing can be hard, but it's worth it. Right. I think if it was easy, then it wouldn't be like something that we teach people. Like it would just kind of you just kind of turn the switch on it and you do it. You know. Um, yeah, Catherine, I agree. Better 2 years than never. Let me see. All right, so now let me get to the last one we have. So the last one here on the Mental Health America website, right, was delusional thoughts. Let me just read that. If your thoughts are bizarre or paranoid, you might be experiencing signs of psychosis. For example, you might feel like the FBI is watching everything you do, or that someone is trying to poison you. You might even see or hear things that no one else does. Psychosis could be a sign of mental illness like schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. Sometimes drugs can cause psychosis, right? So Mental Health America has on the website, but when we're talking about intrusive thoughts, yes, you can have some delusional ideation, right? But at least in my experience, this is just what I've seen, right? With intrusive thoughts, I haven't. This is just what I've seen. I haven't seen these intrusive thoughts, right, in friends and family, especially in my past patients. I've seen them to appear more so in the context of things that are not delusional, right? So the negative self-talk, the intrusive sexual thoughts, the thoughts about potentially wanting to thinking that you want to hurt yourself or hurt somebody else, but you don't want to. I've seen more so of those intrusive thoughts as opposed to the delusional ideation, And maybe it's because I've worked at a state hospital for not anymore, but like I've worked at a state hospital for like a total of 7.5 years. So when there's delusional ideation, I'm thinking schizophrenia, schizoaffective, bipolar disorder with psychotic features, or drug-induced psychosis. Maybe they got hold of some bad drugs. But there's all forms of different intrusive thoughts, and they could come in the delusional form. Not that I've seen that too many times, right? It's usually the negative self-talk and the embarrassing thoughts, right? Whether it's sexual or by hurting yourself or hurting somebody else. But they're things that if you say it out loud, you'll be embarrassed, or sometimes you won't feel like you really had that thought. You're like, oh, somebody else had that thought, but not me. I didn't have that thought. Somebody else, not me. I have good thoughts. I don't have those thoughts. Sometimes you don't even believe the fact that you had that thought, right? Let me look at some of these comments in here. And Kate says, excuse me, my mom had a psychotic episode where bipolar. And it was the hardest thing to watch and go through to see her think and see things that weren't real. Yeah, Katie, psychosis can be very, very scary. And I remember the first time that I saw psychosis. If Hatcher's on, Hatcher will remember, because I was that's when I started at the state hospital back in Georgia. I was like 21 years old. I was an RN on the unit. To see like somebody actively hallucinate, it was a very, very scary thing for like my first time ever seeing it. Seeing somebody talking to themselves, so that's much different. Like legitimate psychosis is that's different from an intrusive thought. I don't want to conflate those two. But yes, it can be difficult to see somebody that you love go through psychosis, whether it occurs within the context of bipolar disorder or schizophrenia. And even you could be in a depressive episode and have psychosis too, right? So psychosis is kind of complicated, but it's like a break from reality. And I think psychosis deserves its own live. I definitely think it deserves its own live. And Sydney says, With my current partner, my negative self-intrusive thoughts are not as bad. We've been together 5 years and had children. But okay, well, Cindy, once again, I think the fact that you can identify when you have these thoughts is helpful, right? It can give some insight into what's going on, and then whenever you decide that, okay, we're gonna find a professional in our area, you can let them know, okay, I have these thoughts, during sex, or I have them, however you have these thoughts. Sometimes it's good to take note of like the pattern, like how are these thoughts presenting? Do I have these thoughts when I'm around a certain person? Um, you know, let me see. I deserve. Yeah, Sarah. No, yeah, the psychosis deserves its own live. Psychosis deserves its own live. I think uh, cannabis, marijuana deserves its own live. I get so many questions on that. Um, like those two for sure deserve their own live. Real quick, Lori, dissociation is a little different from psychosis, right? So a lot of times people might dissociate for different reasons, right? A lot of times it could be through trauma, and psychosis is more so like a break from reality, right? You're detached from reality, you can, but sometimes the line does get blurred between dissociation and psychosis, at least in my opinion. Um, how do we? Ooh, Danielle, how can we help our children learn to defeat negative self-talk and understand her own? So I think like what we're doing right now is very helpful, right? Like even having this conversation, and it's like we're learning for the first time as adults. Like we're just now talking about these things, Danielle. They didn't teach you this when you started your job, right? During orientation, this is no, nobody talks about this type of stuff. So we have to talk about it for the first time, and then as we talk about it, we can figure out how to teach kids about this, right? Because sometimes kids will have these thoughts, and it'll drive them like up and down the wall, where they're like, I don't know why I'm having these thoughts. And if they feel alone, then they're going to be sitting there thinking that they're the only one in the world who is having these thoughts, right? And that's a different type of loneliness that we don't want people to have, right? um, so we don't want that. We don't want that. How do you tell your parents? Cindy, it's a tough one right here. I think you can tell your parents. Sometimes it's easier for people to write a letter, or you can maybe sit down, your parents, and say, hey, like I've been having, a certain thought. This thought doesn't represent me. I have no idea, no plan on doing this. I don't see myself as this type of person. I don't even want to be with this person. I don't even want to go there. I don't want to do this. And I think as we educate parents more, they'll know that, okay, this is just like an intrusive thought. How can we help to give our child the resources that they need, right? And let me see. What do you do if you have bad thoughts and try to communicate to others and they brush you off? How do you handle that? So Tori, it depends. If this is somebody who you value your relationship with them and you want to keep them around, it may be worth explaining a little bit about what's going on, right? But having to explain yourself over and over can drain you. So just be mindful of that. And sometimes people don't understand, mental health to maybe to the degree that you understand it. So sometimes maybe giving them a little bit of grace and empathy, but also space too, right? If they're kind of stressing you out, you might need to, just detach yourself for just a little bit until you feel like you have more energy, right? So that could be a potential thing that somebody in your situation could do. Amber says yes, it's kind of shameful when you have right. Amber, I think that's the main thing that I'm trying to get to tonight, right? The shame behind these intrusive thoughts, right? Which kind of make you feel like you're not, worthy of like, love, attention, respect. That's the main thing that I wanted to really, really, really get into, right? And looking at, I'm giving my mental health the attention. Crystal, I appreciate that. Thank you, Crystal. I appreciate you. Yeah, look, and this is the thing that I've learned myself, and I feel fortunate that I got into this career. Because now I've learned all these things, and as I've been learning, like I've been taking notes for myself and figuring out how I can help out myself. How can I help out my family, my loved ones, my friends, right? My patients. As I go into social media more, how can I construct this information in a way that's going to help millions of folks online, right? So, the more we talk about it, I feel like the more people are being helped, And my intrusive thoughts ruined my Robert. I'm sorry to hear that, and hopefully we can help catch people and in time and give them that space so that they're not feeling embarrassed about their thoughts. And hopefully, for your next relationship, hopefully you're in a better position to take care of yourself and make that one work, right? Bobby Joe says, "Thank you so much. I spent the day in bed with intrusive thoughts." Bobby Joe, where are we at? I'm happy you clicked on this live. Sometimes like I ask myself, like, like, is this so? Timing is important, right? Maybe Bobby Joe, I'm happy that you got to see this live, right? I'm happy that I picked this topic for tonight. You were in bed all day. Maybe you had a crappy day, and then this live helps you feel less alone, right? So maybe when you opened up your phone and then you hopped on Facebook, instead of watching this live, maybe you could have seen like a funny video that caught your attention, right? Or maybe you could have been on YouTube watching like prank videos, or maybe you have to go fill up your car and get some gas, right? Or something. But fortunately, you decided to watch this live at this time. And I'm hopeful that this is going to help you out, especially if you watch the playback, if you came back after the fact. But I'm happy that you're tuning in. And Crystal says, "I like your glasses. I always thought I was crazy or something was wrong with me with intrusive thoughts. I didn't even realize until about a year ago or so that I wasn't alone." Right. And a lot of people see, and that might be the silver line with the pandemic. I don't want y'all to think that I'm saying the pandemic is good, right? Like, please don't take this clip and then throw it somewhere and make it seem like it's something that's not. The pandemic wasn't a good thing, right? But because we're forced to be in a situation, a lot of us are paying more attention to our mental health, right? So maybe you pick this up, because of the pandemic or because of how things have been, and Crystal, you're grown. I see you're a grown woman here. So this is something that you learned as a fully functioning adult, So what if we could tell like the 14-year-old version of yourself this, right? Like, how much better would she do if she, so that's that's what I'm thinking about, right? Thoughts aren't actions. Keep going. I like that. I like that. And and I live in California, so the prices are, it's yeah. So I know. Oh my gosh. Jacqueline says, "What makes intrusive thoughts so frightening is sometimes they make sense in the moment." Yeah, and sometimes if you think that it makes sense, you might not realize like if the thought is yours or not. Like Jacqueline might be there, like, is this my thought? Do I really want to, jump out of the stands and run across the field, during the Titans game? I'm a football fan, so that just came to my idea, right? But and that's something that I've actually thought about that, right? Not that I want to jump on the field during the game, right? But I see all these people that they're they jump on the field and they're running, and the security guards are trying to catch them. So like I've had that thought where I'm like, I'm faster than all these guys. None of these guys can catch me, right? Like the security guards, right? It would have to be like a football player who would have to catch me, and even then, I think I'm still pretty fast, right? And I'm not saying that I'm gonna do this. I'm not gonna do this, y'all. But sometimes if you have that thought, right, and you have the good seats at the game, and like the thought kind of makes sense in the moment. I could jump on, I could run, and then I'd be on TV, and then there's a streak, but then obviously I wouldn't want anything to do with that, right? But I'm curious, like, how many people have had that same type of thought process where they thought, what if I go on the field during the game, or what if I go on the field during the nap? And these are things that we don't want that to happen, right? We do not want sporting events to be interrupted. It's a clear safety hazard, right? You could get hurt, somebody could get hurt, a player could get hurt, a cheerleader could get hurt, a coach. We don't want these types of things to happen, right? But if you have this thought, right, and you have no plan on, executing this idea, right, but the thought just crossed your mind, right, because you're sitting front row, it doesn't make you a bad person, right? All it means is that you had good seats to the Titans versus the Eagles, and you're just at the game, and you just thought to yourself, what if I go say hey to the quarterback, right? It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you want to do it, but it might have made sense to you, in that moment, right? Leilani says water break. Oh, Mickey 50. Oh, I ain't got no water. Mickey 50. I gotta give me some water. Sarah, my team was the Tennessee Titans. My team is the Titans. That's a team I love. I'm gonna call my brother because we can't escape the water break. So I'm gonna call Rob and tell him to bring me water because we can't. We gotta have the water break. We gotta have the water break. Diggs will tackle you. Who? Stephon Diggs. I think he could catch me. Yeah, he's pretty fast. Yeah. Hey Rob. Yeah. So can tell him to take care of that. But also, can you bring me a water bottle into the live? I'm in my computer room. All right. Thank you. Yeah. I drink out the big water bottle. All right. Appreciate you. It is your brain for sure. Yeah, Mega for sure. This is a safe place. It definitely is. This is definitely Rob. How fast do you run 40? I doubt you can catch me. I don't think anybody in this life can catch me. I don't think anybody in this life can beat me in a race. But that's just maybe I'm just overconfident. But I mean I stay in the gym, but somebody could be faster than me. But I don't think anybody uh um, could beat me in a race. Jason, shout out to Jason. Let me give Jason a love of the show. I'm a big Titans fan. Tighten up, tighten up, tighten up. Uh, Rob, I don't think you can beat me in a race. I definitely don't think you can beat me in a race. Positive self-talk, that's important. And yeah, we're gonna have a water break, definitely. Let me see what Sarah said real quick. My intrusive thoughts have always revolved around my past, my toxic, emotionally abusive family. Many of my thoughts actually my mother's voice in my head, and it's taking a lot of work and therapy to help me separate it. The realization that those thoughts aren't who I am. Right. And like I said, it takes a lot of work, and you have to give yourself credit, right? These are not easy things to do. This is actually really hard, right? This is hard. Like you have to go to actual therapy and work this out with a professional, because like this is like you're saying childhood trauma. So you worked hard, to get to this point, Sarah. So you should be proud of yourself. And I'm proud of you. So I'll give you. Let me give you a love of the show. Love the show to Sarah. Be rooting for it. And the other Sarah, thank you so much. Y'all saying the right things. Appreciate you, boss. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Okay, man. Huh? No, yeah, leave her in. Come on, Zoe. Oh my gosh. My head thoughts are faster than you can run. You might be right. You might be right. What types of therapists can? So Kate, many different types of therapists can help her, right? But if you get therapists, even a therapist who like does like straightforward cognitive behavioral therapy, I think that can be very effective, right? That can be very, very effective, right? You are not your thoughts. Zoe, come here. Because she's here, I gotta show you my puppy. Come on, Zoe Shiesty. Y'all see her on the my Facebook. Zoe right here. Hey Zoe. So now we get to see the puppy. Zoe. We got people that want to see you. Hey Zoe. She's tired. Good girl. Good girl. All right, Zoe, you can go back now. Yeah, that's her. That's Zoe Shiesty right there. No, Zoe, stop. Sit. Zoe, down. Not listening at all. Yeah, I think she'd be a great therapy pup. And this is my bottle of water right here. These water breaks are important. Is everybody ready for a water break? We have to have one during the show. We gotta have a water break during the show. So I need to see what's going on. So go ahead and everybody get your water while I read this comment. Your reason I'm gonna find new therapist to talk to was therapy since I was 5 until I was 26. Was able to love life until. Oh wow, Danielle! Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you. It just goes to show that I guess these videos go a long way, and I hope I can keep making this type of impact for people. So Danielle Williams, that really means a lot. And I'm happy I caught that comment. It means a lot. All right. Okay. So Looks like everybody got the water. Sharon, Leilani, everybody got the water. You all know what time it is, right? All right, y'all. Cheers. Ooh, that was a good swig of water. That was a really good swig of water right there. Cheers, 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 cheers. Salsa water works too. Whatever you all have to drink works. Ooh, I love water. Water just cleans you out, keeps you going. It'll help me out. I'll probably hit the gym once more tonight before I go to sleep. So I gotta stay hydrated. Yeah. So who said breathe control chap? That's funny. That's a drink. Oh yeah, I was thirsty. I was super thirsty. Charlene, I was super thirsty. Oh boy, Mickey Ficky. Cheers, 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 cheers. And Facebook user, thank you so much. I really appreciate this. I know that you let people know that I'm on this. Right. So look, let me talk about this for a second. So Facebook user, this is what I realized maybe about sometime last year. Like what I'm doing is actually helpful, right? And that's why I've shifted, going from practice and we're going into social media. We're gonna push more, into this direction because we can make a greater impact online, right? Just by education, right? And I could theoretically, I could never write another prescription again in my life, right? And I still think I can make a pretty good impact, right? Just by educating people. Because like once you know, then you go get the help, right? But if you don't know, then you're sitting there, you're living in pain, you're having intrusive thoughts, you're beating yourself up, you might be struggling with depression, anxiety, whatever condition you have, right? ADHD. And then you're at home, you're frustrated. You're like, oh, life sucks, blah, blah. And you're just hopeless and helpless. And maybe a video that you see is like the catalyst, a turning point. And you're like, okay, I'm about to go look up somebody in my area and get the help. So that's the intention of where we're headed with the videos, right? And I think I'm onto something, and I'm grateful that I have this platform. It really means a lot to me. Like it really, really means a lot. Yeah, and that's why like people say like you don't have a problem coming on live. Like no, like I want to get you all's feedback in real time. Krista, that's why I started my blog. Krista, thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. I'm happy I got that here on the screen. I appreciate that. Awareness, Cindy, I completely agree right there. That's talking. Zoe is a perfect match for me. Like Zoe, she's so like hype, like I'm chill, right? I'm still, I still have my ADHD, right? But I'm more so like chill and attentive. Like I'm just like, I'm like chill. Zoe's like hyper. She's like in your face. She's right now looking at the door, trying to do something. She always got to do something. She always has to do something. Awareness is yes, Christy. Awareness is crucial. Like people have to know before they can do something about it. People have to know before they can do something about it. And yes, Leilani, yes, we need to do a whole like we could do a week's worth of lives on just eating disorders. Literally, we could like where do we start? Like wow. Yeah, right. I don't know this. There's so many different parts. Like the first thing that comes to mind is talking about how eating disorders might be more subtle than you think, right? You might be doing things you didn't know could potentially be eating disorder. Guys could have eating disorders, right? You could be at a healthy weight, and look great and have an eating disorder. So there's so much that we could talk about when it comes to that, right? And eating disorders can be lethal. So it's not a joke, and we definitely got to get the awareness out. And Joanna says, would it be better to view on Facebook? So shout out to my Twitch family. The Facebook family is the bigger family here, and this is where everybody wants to go to. But shout out to my Twitch family, whichever one you prefer. You may prefer to Facebook though, but shout out to them. Shout out to them. And your videos finally helped me to see a doctor from ADHD instead of just getting anxiety and depression masked. Emily, yes. So whenever I post my content about ADHD, I always like to throw in that the right treatment can be life-changing, and I truly believe that. I stand by that statement. And I hope that, you get the right treatment, right? You hyping your Beth. I appreciate that. You're like the first Buffalo Bills fan that I'm super cool with. When I go out, people compliment because I'm so skinny. I hate it. It's not a choice. Once again, this is something that this is a good video idea. I never thought about that. Because sometimes you see somebody like, oh, you look good, but you don't know what they're going through. Emily, thank you for this comment right here. I appreciate that. And are there, yes, if you look online, there's tons of psychiatrists, nurse practitioners, PAs, therapists, counselors, social workers, psychologists, who all do telehealth, so it'll be video call, so kind of like this, right? Or it could be through your phone. So there's a lot of options, that you can have. So definitely keep that in mind. And yes, Claire, yes, we can definitely talk about both of those. Our treatment can be life changing. I completely agree. Crystal, I appreciate you. I'm happy, and I can't wait. When I make videos every day, I get excited. I'm not sure. I wake up and I'm like, all right, what are we gonna talk about today, or what funny concept am I gonna roll with? So we really don't know what we're gonna do until we do it. So we really don't know. Bills, yeah. Shout out to Josh Allen. That boy's a player right there. They should beat the Chiefs, but that's neither here nor there. And the Bills and Chiefs have been going back to the 90s. So I think that might be the next big rivalry. Mahomes and Allen and Chiefs and Bills. I think those are the two best teams in the AFC right now. So hopefully my Titans can sneak, in there. And of course, respect to the Bengals, they made the Super Bowl, right? But that is gonna conclude it for actually, Chrissy, yes. Let me get my merch in here. Mickey Ficky. So I think I'm a decent marketer, but me being all over the place and being busy, I gotta figure out. I'll ask my assistant to to put the links out there. But how do I get my link? So the link to the merch. I have not done a good job of promoting the merch. I could do a much better job on doing that. I think I could do a much better job. But here's the merch right here. Merch, check it out. And I'm gonna let my sister know to put a discount for all the subscribers. But yes, thank you for who asked about that. Who asked about that? And Kate Kobe, we definitely have to talk about trichotillomania. Who? Emily, I appreciate you. And yes, Sarah, we're going to talk about skinny culture because that's the opposite. Nobody talks about that, right? People talk about, oh, so-and-so, they look like they're big or overweight, but there's another side of the spectrum too. No hate for KC. Yeah. Shout out to the Chiefs. I don't like the Chiefs, but you get the point. Ryan, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. A lot of love. And shout out to Chrissy for asking about the merch. Like I said, I'm not doing a good job of promoting the merch, but it's there. And I'm featuring the merch in the life of most kids. I'm going to feature the merch more in my content. As you can see, I'm being more mindful of branding, right? We got this right here. Right here. So we got the Cordosorfo, right? So we're no longer working with any particular scrub company. Shout out to all the scrub companies I've been with in the past. Much love to you all. I love you guys. But we're switching up just a little bit out here. And I'm just looking at some of the content. Y'all give me ideas. I know I said I was about to get off, but I'll need to pin the merch link. How do you pin the merch link? I gotta learn this. Hey, Mickey Ficky. Susie, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Susie, I appreciate you. Oh, thank you so much, Miss Susie. Thank you so much. And how do you pin let me see, can you pin? All right, I'll figure that out at some point. Who said I will lean Titans now? Sarah, you're trying to become my favorite person. You lean the Titans. That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear. It's very simple. Just talk about the Titans, and I'm going to be happy, right? Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate you, my guy. I'm happy that you're out here on my platform. I'm definitely doing my best to reach you guys. Let me see. Emily, Emmeline. I apologize, Emmeline. You must get that your whole life since you were like in second grade. I'm sure people have been saying Emily, so I apologize. Emmeline. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your comment. I appreciate that. And Emily, is Emily, Emmeline. Y'all are trying to make me like it's like a tongue twister. But thank you so much, Emily. I appreciate it. Send pictures when you are in the merch so I can post you all on Instagram. Hatcher, I miss you. Shout out to everybody back in Augusta. I miss you. I love you. Hatcher, take care of yourself. And we definitely, I gotta get back to Augusta sometime soon. Oh my God! I'm trying to make everybody Titans fans. I'm trying to make everybody Titans fans. Uh, Nadia, I appreciate that. Oh man. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And yeah, sure. Feature the merch on your blog and post a link and let me know. Kate, thank you so much. I appreciate you. All right, so I don't want to make the show about myself because it's turning into. I love the love, but like we have the focus is on the people. So, well, little Shassy's tired. Okay, so I got some time to head to the gym. All right, I'm about to head to the gym. You all get this workout in and prepare for the day we have tomorrow. We have a big day tomorrow, and I'll be releasing some content. I will be in Austin, Texas for South by Southwest. I don't know if anybody is in Austin. I don't know if I'm doing a meetup or anything like that. I'm not sure. But I'll be in Austin, Texas Thursday and Friday, and then some events that Facebook has set up. So, we will have 3 of the late night shows this week, and then I'll try and slide in like a morning show so that way I can hit 4 in a week. So, Rob, you're not going to beat me in a race. But if we ever race, I'm going to have to like record that so people can see me, beating you by like a wide margin. But you all take care. Have a fantastic night, and I appreciate you all. Peace.